A Prayer at Yasukuni Shrine. June 2007. The rainy season drizzle quietly soaked the stone pathway of Yasukuni Shrine in Tokyo. Deep inside the shrine grounds, before the main hall adorned with the imperial chrysanthemum crest, an elderly man stood silently with his hands pressed together in prayer. "Brother, I've finally come to see you." The man was Lee Teng-hui, later known as the father of Taiwan's democracy. His older brother, Lee Teng-hui, had died as a soldier of the Imperial Japanese Army on the battlefields of the Philippines during World War II and was enshrined at Yasukuni. A reporter asked him, "Does this visit carry any political meaning?" Holding back tears, Lee answered quietly, "This is not politics. A younger brother has simply come to pray for his older brother. Born in Taiwan, raised in Japanese, a volunteer soldier for Japan, and later, the man who would lead Taiwan toward democracy." This is the story of one of the greatest leaders in modern Taiwanese history, Lee Teng-hui. Chapter 1. Childhood. Masao Iwasato. Lee Teng-hui was born in northern Taiwan in 1923, Taisho 12. His father worked as a police officer under Japanese rule, and Lee grew up in a relatively wealthy household with access to good education. He was given the Japanese name Masao Iwasato and was raised speaking Japanese as his native language. At school, students studied ethics, history, and literature. Teachers emphasized values such as sincerity, courtesy, honor, and duty. Years later, Lee reflected, "I thought in Japanese. I dreamed in Japanese." What deeply shaped the young boy's heart was the idea of knowing shame, living honorably, keeping promises, and avoiding causing trouble for others. Those principles would become the moral foundation of his life. Chapter 2. Middle and high school years. Lee attended Tansui Middle School and later the prestigious Taipei High School. He became an obsessive reader, Soseki Natsume, Kitaro Nishida, Tetsuro Watsuji. He immersed himself in Japanese literature and philosophy, spending long nights debating ideas with classmates. The school promoted freedom and self-governance. Japanese and Taiwanese students studied and lived together without distinction. Later in life, Lee said, "It was in high school that I learned how to think for myself." During these years, deeper questions began to grow inside him. What is a nation? How should a person live? Chapter 3. Student life in Kyoto. In 1943, Showa 18, Lee entered the Faculty of Agriculture at Kyoto Imperial University. Japan was already deep in war. Lee lived in a dormitory called Nichidoku Ryo together with Taiwanese students. Food was scarce, and hunger became part of daily life. But even then, he never stopped reading. The Kamo River, the Philosopher's Path, old bookstores lining Kyoto's streets, the ancient capital profoundly influenced the young Lee Teng-hui. He bought countless books from Iwanami Bunko paperbacks and devoured philosophy, literature, and political thought. Eventually, his personal library grew to over 1,300 books. Among them, Kitaro Nishida's An Inquiry into the Good had an especially deep impact on him. Walking along the philosopher's path, Lee absorbed the spirit and culture of Japan into his soul. Chapter 4. Encounter with the Japanese Spirit. During his years of reading in Kyoto, Lee encountered Bushido, The Soul of Japan by Inazo Nitobe. The book taught a spirit that valued facing hardship without running away and dedicating oneself to others. Lee was deeply moved. The Japanese spirit means disciplining oneself and living for others. This belief became the core principle that guided his future political life. Even today in Taiwan, the phrase Japanese spirit often means diligence, honesty, and keeping one's word. Lee Teng-hui cherished those values throughout his entire life. Chapter 5. War Experience. A Volunteer Soldier of Japan. In 1944, Showa 19, Lee volunteered for the Imperial Japanese Army and became an officer trainee in an anti-aircraft artillery unit. Then came March 10, 1945, the Great Tokyo Air Raid. From Chiba, Lee and his unit fired anti-aircraft guns desperately at the B-29 bombers overhead, but their shells could not reach them. The following day, he was ordered to help recover bodies in the devastated city. Tokyo had become hell itself, burned corpses, people screaming in grief, an endless sea of rubble. Lee later said he could never forget what he saw there. Through the horrors of war, he reached a profound realization. Politics must exist to protect human lives. That belief would later evolve into his commitment to democracy. Chapter 6: Chiang Kai-shek and Taiwan under martial law. After Japan's defeat in 1945, Taiwan was handed over to the Republic of China. But on the Chinese mainland, civil war between the nationalists and communists intensified. In 1949, Chiang Kai-shek and the nationalist government were defeated and fled to Taiwan. Soon after, martial law was imposed. A long dictatorship began. Freedom of speech disappeared, and society entered an era where people constantly feared surveillance and arrest. Chapter 7: The Wukyu Dormitory and a New Resolve. After the war, Lee briefly returned to Kyoto University. Around this time, he abandoned his Japanese name, Masao Iwasato, and began using his Chinese name once again, Lee Teng-hui. In Tokyo's Shirokan district stood a dormitory known as Wukyu Dormitory, where Taiwanese students lived together after the war. There, they passionately debated the future of Taiwan. Many young men who would later contribute to Taiwan's democratization gathered in this place. What is freedom? What is a nation? What does it mean to be Taiwanese? Here, Lee made a firm decision. Taiwan needs freedom. Chapter 8: Return to Taiwan and the White Terror. In 1946, Lee returned to Taiwan and transferred into National Taiwan University. But Taiwan was in turmoil. Conflict intensified between native Taiwanese and mainland Chinese who had fled with the nationalist government. Political oppression expanded rapidly. Then came the White Terror after 1949. Friends who dreamed of democracy were arrested one after another. Some were executed. At one point, Lee himself had to hide in a friend's rice storage shed. Amid this climate of fear, he made a vow. I want to build a society where people can speak freely without fear. That dream would become the greatest mission of his life. Chapter 9: Two Study Periods in America. Lee established himself as an agricultural economist. In 1952, he studied at Iowa State University in the United States. Then, in 1965, he entered Cornell University and earned a doctorate in agricultural economics. But after returning to Taiwan in 1969, he was suddenly detained by military police. He endured 17 hours of interrogation. Authorities suspected him of supporting democratic ideas. Later, Lee recalled, "At that moment, I decided I must save the Taiwanese people from fear." Chapter 10: Meeting Ching-kuo, Taiwan's first native-born president. Lee's expertise in agricultural policy eventually caught the attention of Ching-kuo, the son of Chiang Kai-shek. Lee rose through the ranks, becoming mayor of Taipei, governor of Taiwan province, and eventually vice president. Then, in 1987, under mounting pressure for reform, Ching-kuo finally lifted martial law after 38 years. The following year, Chiang died unexpectedly. Lee Teng-hui became the first native Taiwanese president in Taiwan's history. But fierce opposition erupted inside the ruling party. There were even assassination attempts. Still, Lee never backed down. "I do not fight for power. I fight for democracy." He pushed forward parliamentary reform, multi-party democracy, and local self-government. Chapter 11: Taiwan's first direct presidential election. In 1996, Taiwan held its first direct presidential election. China reacted furiously. Missiles were launched into the Taiwan Strait and military exercises threatened the island. Fear of war spread across Taiwan. At that moment, Lee spoke calmly to the people. "Do not be afraid. Democracy is worth defending even at the cost of our lives." The Taiwanese people went to the polls. Voter turnout reached 76%. With overwhelming support, they elected Lee Teng-hui. At that moment, Taiwan's democracy took a decisive step onto the world stage. Chapter 12. A Message to Japan's Youth. Even after retiring from office, Lee visited Japan many times. Again and again, he told young Japanese people, "Japanese people, have confidence in yourselves, pride in one's culture, responsibility toward one's nation, and the spirit of serving others." Lee worried deeply that modern Japan was gradually losing these values. Many students who heard him speak were moved to tears. This is the first time a foreign leader has taught us to be proud of being Japanese. Until the very end of his life, Lee continued to believe in the bond between Japan and Taiwan. Chapter 13. Epilogue: The Future of Taiwan and Japan.
李登輝元総統のご逝去の本席、誠に痛惜の念に堪えません。
On July the 30th, 2020, Lee Teng-hui passed away at the age of 97. At the time, former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who deeply admired Lee as a mentor, said with visible emotion, "I cannot bear the pain of this tremendous loss." Taiwan entered a period of national mourning. People said, "He was the man who gave us freedom." Lee Teng-hui was not only the father of Taiwan's democracy, he was also a bridge connecting Taiwan and Japan. In his later years, he often said, "Japan and Taiwan are a community bound by destiny." One man's courage and conviction changed a nation. Even today, the spirit of Lee Teng-hui continues to illuminate the future of both Taiwan and Japan. Thank you very much for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you again in the next story.